I think it depends a lot on where you're like what your starting position is too, right? And like you mentioned, Jared, like not everybody's going to be in the same position or have the same financial situation. But obviously, if you have more time than money, it probably makes more sense to try and start a business, right? Like do it on your own from the beginning, build it from the beginning, put your time in or whatever. But there's guys that are buying these bigger sites, for example, on Empire Flippers. There a lot of times you talk to these older guys or it's an investment fund, but if it's like a single person investor, they just have extra. Like the site that the guy that I sold the site to, he had extra money. He wanted to play around with something. He didn't have a lot of time though, because he was still doing his full-time job. He wanted something on the side. So he was like, oh, let me just invest this. And it's going to kind of be like my side project, right? But again, also, I think it's a lot of it is like very personal, right? Like, what do you enjoy doing? If you're horrible at, picking, like kind of doing like the niche research and picking kind of an industry or something like this, or you don't have an overall, like for me, I don't have a lot of passion in a lot of these businesses in general. I don't care really, to be honest. Like there's things I hate, but there's ones that I just hate less or whatever. Like that's the thing. But so for me, like I don't really care about the niche. You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me. I can look at it. I'll just look at the data. Does this make sense? Does it not make sense? So I can kind of work with anything. You know what I mean? I'm fine with that. But some people, like if you're super passionate about surfing and there's no surfing site available, then maybe it makes sense for you. And you know the niche really well and you're really interested in that. You could write about that. And you can't necessarily go and buy a surfing site, then maybe it just makes more sense for you to just put that energy into creating a surfing site, right? So I think it's a lot of times, it just really depends. It's really like an individual, like a personal preference, basically, I would say. But I think the best is just to kind of like analyze yourself, look at where you're currently starting, and then just take the next logical step, I think. If you have another thing to consider as well, like on a side note as well, if you're thinking about buying $100,000 site, the way that I look at it is if I was to invest $100,000 in a site, would I rather take 10,000 and invest in 10 sites? That, me personally, I would rather do that just because I know myself well enough. And I think that I could scale that easier as opposed to taking 100,000 and putting it into one site and just focusing on that. You also have to consider, okay, well, what's the budget going to be then after I acquire this $100,000 site? If I want to grow it, it's going to take either time or money anyways. So if you put all the money and you have no time into just buying the site, well, how are you then going to grow it if that's the plan? So there's like different things that you have to think about, right? And when I said starting 10 sites, I didn't mean at once, but I could probably start one. Once that's going, take another 10,000. Maybe I might lose the first 10,000, but then I could do it again and again. And I feel pretty confident. That's basically why I like Age Domains, right? Because you like for under 10 grand, you can get a phenomenal domain and fast track a lot of this stuff. And then you just have to, work on the rest. So it's kind of like a hybrid, I think. But I always basically, for my sites, I always start at Age Domains. And that's the main reason. I never go buy an existing site like that. But I sell them. I like to sell them. So.